Right, we are live, hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the semi-finals of the Cape Town Sevens, and one of these two sides a little bit more popular in this region of the world, South Africa. They are going head-to-head with the French in what promises to be a very entertaining game. At the moment, the Boks are undefeated for the Cape Town Sevens campaign. 3 wins from 3. Now, last week, we did see New Zealand go 5 from 5. They were the only undefeated side throughout Dubai. So at this point in time, it seems like we could see a repeat here for the South Africans as long as they get past France and then they play either Argentina or Fiji in the final. But we've got about 10 minutes until the kickoff of this contest. We're going to be looking through at the lineups, the recent fixtures, and also give a few predictions along the way of who we think will win this contest. But we have got Bruce in the comments. Also, Joss is here and Wild Lobster is here as well. I hope you guys are all doing extremely well. I hope you are extremely excited for this game. It looks like the Cape Town locals are in the stands. There are plenty filing in for this first contest, and of course that final taking place in around 4 or so hours time. But the starting lineups for the teams, first of all for the South Africans, it is David Brits, Zane Davids, Impi Visa, who will be the captain of this Blitzboks side, Donovan Don, who's been in some pretty decent form throughout the Sevens competition, Tristan Lades, Shilton Van Wyk, he got himself a hat-trick in the opening contest up against the Fijians, and then Ricardo James Duarte, the last man. In the starting side for the French, it is Liam Delamere, also Zedar. They have got Beulah in the starting lineup, Pauline Riva, their captain, Stephen Perez-Martin, Andy Timo, and also Jordan Sefo. So to me, that looks like a pretty strong French side. They've gone with the big guns up front to try and get in the right direction early on in this fixture. But of course, both teams can still bring that impact off of their benches as well. At the moment, New Zealand, they have booked themselves a spot through to the semi-finals for the women's side of the draw. Currently, Australia and USA are playing off with a second position, but it does seem like once again we're going to get to see a New Zealand-Australia women's final for the Cape Town Sevens yet again. But speaking of finals in Cape Town, South Africa, they are the defending champions of the Cape Town Sevens. They were able to get themselves the win last year in this same tournament. They'd love nothing more than to recover from that 5th place finish last week in Dubai. They were in a tough group. They didn't quite get that momentum going early, but now, you can't get much more momentum than 3 wins from 3 in the early stages of the competition. We have got Hi from Please and Tees. Welcome in, and good luck to my Blitzboks, says Leon there as well. But looking through at the recent fixtures for the South Africans, they started off their Sevens campaign with a win over the Fijians, which was an absolutely massive one, as at times throughout that game they were down by the 9 points, but fighting back, and like I mentioned, that Shilton Van Wyk hat-trick completely turned that game around, beating New Zealand in the next contest, 19 points to 14. So straight away after those 2 wins, South Africa were through to the next stage of the competition. There was no denying that they would be advancing. In that case, I'm trying my best not to sneeze at the moment, but we probably will in the very near future. Love you here, bro, says Dell in there. Thank you very much. Hello, Hamish says Marion there. Best of luck for the Blitzies, says Gideon. And Box the best. And there too, it's at the tourism office today. Listening to your commentary of the tournament, a cooler 32 degrees Celsius. So that is pretty warm. That is for sure. It's pretty warm in Cape Town at the moment. I believe mid-20s for these contests. So they'll definitely be feeling the heat out there. And I think that both of these sides will be very happy they only have the 2 games today rather than having the 3 just around the corner. But in their last game of the first day, Pool A finished with a bang for the Blitzboks. They were able to win it 41 points to 7 over Great Britain, who have not had the best record up against South Africa just in recent times. I am going to sneeze, so I will very quickly mute. We are good. But yeah, massive win 2 times in a row now for the South African side over Great Britain. But for France, they were able to start off their campaign with a win over the Spanish, who actually had a pretty valiant effort in their pool stages. They were able to beat Argentina as well as the Australians, but that was not enough to get them through to the next stage. What time is the match starting? The match is starting in about 8 minutes' time. So we have still got a little bit of time before this match does get underway, but we are going to be going right through the lineups, the key players, everything like that, heading into this matchup, and also doing a bit of a preview of that next game between Fiji and Argentina just around the corner as well. What's the temp by you? I think we're about 13, or in fact, it would be warmer than 13 degrees Celsius. We might even be closer to 20 at the moment, which is pretty warm for us here at 11:15 p.m. in the evening. As Australia women still on, they are 19 points to 7 at the moment. The Aussie women do lead. USA have scored the last try, but they're starting to make a couple mistakes just out from their goal line now. But the second game for the French, they were beaten by Argentina, so that was their lone loss in this competition, 24 points to 19. So the trend has pretty much been anyone who has lost, who has made it to a decent stage of the competition, they have still been pretty close in the match. The likes of Argentina versus France, that would be the two underdogs. If they were to play each other in the bronze, then that would still be, I would say, a pretty close one. Are you getting a cold sneeze? And says Jeremy, no, just hay fever at this time of the year. Hey, mate. Hope you are well, says Rajin, doing very well, excited for this contest, of course. And then the French in their last game of the group stage, they were able to win it 29 points to 10 over the Australians, who are currently sitting 0 from 4 in their Sevens campaign in Cape Town. This is not a location that they'll be excited to go back to with a record like that. Medium temperature here, not too hot, says Adele. And also, how's it, Hamish? Craig from St. Francis Bay. Says Craig there, I hope you are doing extremely well and hope you are excited for this semi-final. Of course, let me know your score predictions for this game, ladies and gentlemen. It is not a mile away from starting up, about 6 minutes until it does get underway. Madison Levi just scoring another try for the Australians, so that well and truly confirms that New Zealand versus Australia women's final that we will be covering on the channel in a few hours, who won the other semi-final. It has not taken place just yet. So the winner of this contest, they will go head-to-head up against the winner of Fiji versus Argentina. That one kicks off in around 30 minutes' time, and that could be a very competitive game. The last time that Fiji played Argentina, it was actually in the last leg in Dubai, and the score in that one was 26 points to 19. Now, France and South Africa also played last leg of the Sevens. That was 15 points to 12 in favour of the Blitzboks. In that contest, they were unable to convert any of their tries, South Africa. Now, in this one, they've been a little bit more clinical with those drop kicks, but that is something that could really determine this game. Who is able to get their kicks over? Definitely if it is back and forth. We'll be doing the Sharks game later. We certainly will be. What time is the final? Asking for traffic reasons, says Inferno. So the final of this competition, whoever makes it through, of course, will be playing. Whoever doesn't will be playing in the bronze final. Bronze final's at 3:42 p.m. South African time. The final is at 4:43 p.m. South African time. 16 points to 12 to South Africa, says Rajin. As the score prediction, 24 for the Blitzboks, says Jeremy. And up the box, says Rugby Itch. And there as well. But yeah, we are only sitting around the 5 hours away from that final taking place. In fact, about 5.5 hours. No, that's not maths. 4.5 hours. We'll go with that. Just saying there at the moment in Cape Town, the temperature has actually rose up to about 32 degrees. So, like I said, both of these sides will be extremely happy. They only have 2 matches to play in this leg of the Sevens rather than going for the 3 for today. But looking through at the benches for these two sides, for the South Africans, it is Ryan Oosterhuizen, Selvin Davids, who was an absolute game changer in the last contest. In fact, he's been a game changer all throughout this leg of the Sevens. Xander Reinders, also the youngster, Songwabo Sequoia, who did manage to score himself a try in the last match, I believe it was, up against Great Britain. And then Christy Hrobala having a solid competition. He is there as the last replacement. Irugua off the bench for the French. Also, Dabo is there, Miranda, Dizay, and Mignot. So, some familiar faces for Les Bleus off of their bench. I should be napping. Says Adele is at a full stadium today. Beautiful day in Cape Town. It doesn't look full, but it is certainly filling up for this contest that is just around the corner. I think if they had the women's South African side playing as well, it may have helped in terms of numbers. Definitely after that brilliant campaign that we saw for the Women's Rugby World Cup just recently. But, of course, the Blitzboks, they are going to draw a decent crowd when they're sitting 3 from 3 off the first day. Everyone's going to be getting behind their home side in this contest. And you just get the feeling like it's going to be a great game. And hopefully it does deliver, because at the end of the day, these two sides, they've had some great battles throughout recent times. Even just last week, we saw the French get themselves the close fixture up against the Boks, although they did score 2 times compared to South Africa's 3. And I do think whoever scores more tries in this game, yes, the kicks are going to be crucial, but whoever scores more, they are going to win this matchup. The Boks by 5, says Sean, and Boks are bringing it home again, says Musuli. And there, and it would be 2 in a row in Cape Town for the South African side. They have got a brilliant record here, and in front of the home crowd, I really feel like that is what got them over the line in a couple of their matches on day one. Up against the Fijians, there was never a doubt that South Africa were going to be able to fire back in that contest, and the crowd just got louder and louder as that match wore on. Same with that game up against New Zealand. You could see how much it meant to Siu Kolisi, who was in the stands watching rather than playing for the Sharks in the Champions Cup. He is once again in the stands, I believe, for this contest. Good afternoon, evening, Hamish. Go the Blitzboks. See a Sweet Pea and there as well. But Maddie Levi has just scored herself 4 tries in the game up against the USA, so she is on fire at the moment. 32 degrees Celsius in Cape Town. It is going to be hot out there on the field for the semi-final. The action is going to be incredible, and then straight after this game, we get to go on to that next semi-final, Fiji versus Argentina, and that one can bring all sorts of excitement for this next match of the Sevens circuit. But we got the South African flag there from Galactica in there too. So the women's final is confirmed, New Zealand versus Australia. And in about, I would say, 45 minutes time, we will have confirmation of exactly who will play each other in the men's side of the draw. If France will not be shocked. The thing is, though, once again, a little bit similar to that French women's side, France are a good team. And when they play well, they can be extremely clinical. Now, the problem that they've got is I just feel there's too many speedsters in this South African side. Shilton van Wyk, he got himself a hat-trick in that game up against Fiji. You take him out of the equation, I believe South Africa would have lost that game. In the second match up against New Zealand, it wasn't Shilton van Wyk who stepped up, but instead other members of that squad who were able to make the impact. And I think that is the most dangerous thing about the Blitzboks at the moment. It is not just one superstar. Everyone is playing their role in terms of these results, even the young players making their way off the bench to have an impact. And there's always leading the Sevens circuit at the moment, currently New Zealand. But that is only because we've had one leg and they won it. New Zealand playing off the 5th in the contest just around the corner, but that will drop them a little bit in the points department. If Fiji were able to get themselves the win in Cape Town, that would boost them drastically and they would actually move to number 1. If South Africa were able to get themselves the win in Cape Town and New Zealand finished 5th, those two sides would be tied for the same amount of points heading into the next stage. But if Fiji made the final, I think that they would actually find themselves sitting in first place in the overall standings. But the two sides have made their way onto the field. Once again, for anyone who doesn't know the lineups, for the French, it is Liam Delamere, Zedar, Bohier, also Pauline Riva, Stephen Perez-Martin, Andy Timo, and Jordan Sefo. So a lot of power up front for the French there. For the South Africans, it is David Brits, Zane Davids, Impi Visa, Donovan Don, Tristan Leys, Shilton van Wyk, and Ricardo James Duarte. But we are ready to go for the semi-final of the men's Sevens circuit. It is winner take all, or at least in this context it is. Whoever loses is playing for the bronze, but that is the last thing that either of these sides will be wanting at this point in time. They'll be wanting nothing but the win, and that ball is going to be taken by Donovan Don under the high ball. It did look like a relatively hard landing for the South African speedster out wide. He has already scored multiple tries throughout this Cape Town Sevens campaign. He's got the position back in the middle of the park. Ricardo James Duarte showing off his step. Going to be tackled by Andy Timo, and he picks him up and tries to slam him down. We got the donation from Philip. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Around the halfway line now for the Blitzboks. And off to the left-hand side, Tristan Leys pops it on the inside to Impi Visa, the big captain of the box. Get him moving. 40 metres out from the line, Ricardo James Duarte, little bit hesitant. Oh, that was a risky one for France. They could have gone for the interception, but instead, Shilton van Wyk runs it down the wing. The Blitzboks score, and that was just a little bit of a misread. Oh, I put the wrong one on the screen. There we go. But it was Philip with the donation. The 5th try for Shilton van Wyk in Cape Town. But this was the mistake. They went across. Oh, he could have almost reached out to go for the interception. It would have left a gap on the outside anyway. Zane Davids is always Mr. Reliable in tough matches, says Sean Lees, but this is the dream start to the match for the Blitzboks. Exactly what they would have been after, because that gives them that early momentum. But they have missed a lot of kicks throughout this campaign. Ricardo James Duarte adds to that. Under the poles, not quite. To the side a little bit, so the kick has missed, keeping the score at 5-0 in favour of the Blitzboks. They are just showing at the moment for Shilton van Wyk. He's got himself a few tries already throughout this Sevens campaign. And in terms of this year in general, now Zedar wrestled backwards, trying to get in the breakdown there for South Africa. Impi Visa gets the clean steal. Exactly the start to the match that the South Africans would have been after. Shilton van Wyk, he plays halfback, going back across to the right-hand side. Tristan Leys, one more pass. It looked close to forward, but it stays flat, and a big tackle made on David Brits. I'm back across. Now, Donovan Don, he's lost his headgear. I'm not too sure when that happened. That's going to be a knock-on and a penalty, though, going the way of the South Africans for offside against France. They're going to think about a quick tap, but instead they will set for the scrum. Perfect start, says Regine, and convergence could cost us. They certainly could. They haven't really yet for South Africa in this campaign anyway, but they certainly did cost them in Dubai last week. In those close games, it just felt like they weren't quite able to find their rhythm in the way that you would expect. Looks like a bit of an injury here for Andy Timo at the moment. Aussie BT, England in the ashes again, 2-0. Says DJ, and High Wild Lobster, says Ruth. And there too. There's a replay of last year's Cup final. South Africa won that one 26 points to 10. It's also a replay of a match we saw last week in Dubai. That one was won by South Africa 15 points to 12, although that was with 3 unsuccessful conversion attempts from the Blitzboks. We have to get these conversions, man. Yeah, maybe it won't cost them in the semi-final. Of course, it's still early days. We don't know what France are going to do for the rest of this contest, but it could certainly cost them in the final. Definitely if it's up against the Fijians, who have been the best side when it comes to percentage of kicks going over from the conversion aspect. Do you have a PS5? I do not know. But now, ball's going to be going in. Ricardo James Duarte asking for the penalty. Referee says hurry up and put the ball in. It's a big push from the French. But Ricardo James Duarte going off to Tristan Lades. They've got the man on the outside. He almost cuts through himself there, Lades. Stephen Perez Martin looking for the steal. He has lost his footing, so it will be another penalty to the Blitzboks and Tristan Lades. Because of 3 men in that breakdown, it means that all he has to do is run it into the corner. And it's another try for these South Africans. And now they make it 10 points to 0. A quick fire start in this semi-final for the Boks. Dupont needs to join the circuit. He is playing for Toulouse. Just around the corner, Dupont has played his sevens. He's won his gold medal, and now he's gone back to rugby union to get paid millions. The atmosphere in the stadium is awesome. Says JP, yeah, they would absolutely love nothing more than to see the home side get the victory here. In Dubai, it was a bit of a lackluster finish for the Blitzboks, finishing 5th. But now they've got the opportunity to go on and get a gold in front of the home crowd. That is actually a limited opportunity, something you don't see too often now on the Sevens circuit due to the likes of a Canada getting kicked out, so no Vancouver Sevens for them. The LA Sevens, no USA on the circuit anymore. So, you know, these opportunities in front of home stadiums is something that you don't see as much as we used to. Now, big run for France. And this is where they have to be the next side to score. Once again, a misconversion from the South Africans. Penalty advantage going in favour of the French, and they will take that penalty. George Selwood awarding it there to France. Do you think Fiji will take the match next? I think they should, but you just never know. Like, Argentina are definitely a bit 50-50 at the moment. They went from finishing dead last in the last competition to getting themselves through to the semi-finals. And FMD missed again. So there's James there. We have got there, why did these teams get kicked out like USA and Canada? It's just because of the fact that they did end up pretty much cutting the teams down initially from 16 to 12 and then from 12 to 8, really limiting the amount of sides that we see on the circuit. We cover the DuPont game, we certainly will, and give us the link of the game. The game is on Supersport if you're in South Africa. If you're outside of there, I believe it is available on Rugby Pass TV. For the corner, Jordan Sefo scores for the French. He thought about cutting back in, but had Tristan Lades in his way. But that is going to be the first strike of the match for France. Their first real attack of the semi-final as well. There aren't a huge amount of French supporters in the stands by the sounds of it. There was a half little cheer when they were able to score that one. But beautiful backline movement here for Les Bleus. Be able to get it out wide. And then Jordan Sefo does get that ball down almost untouched. That one's going to miss away to the side for the French as well. So we have had 0 from 3 from these two sides off the kicking tee at this point in time. I think it could honestly cost someone in this game. If France score again and they miss another conversion, these two sides theoretically could both be on 14 but would only be on 10 in this scenario. Did France score? They certainly did with Jordan Sefo. Just a 1 minute remaining. Have France taken the momentum away from the home team? Trying to slap it back was Delamere. It's picked up by Shilton van Wyk. The answer is no, because no one is going to catch him, and he is taunting the man chasing after him. They are having fun in Cape Town. They've been doing it all throughout this competition as well. When they know they're going to score, they like to give the crowd a bit of a show. They like to rub it in the noses of their opposition, and that is what Shilton van Wyk has done right there, watching over his shoulder the whole way, knowing he wasn't going to be caught. No conversions. So here's Bruce. And try. Sounds like it will be a high-scoring game, says Regine. Yeah, it's certainly shaping up that way. But Shilton van Wyk looking over the shoulder, making eye contact with Stephen Perez-Martin as he runs it in. And then does put it down between the posts. And beauty, says James, and this will be a conversion, I should mention, because there is no way to miss it from 5 metres out, or at least there shouldn't have been. That was a little bit closer, I think, than Ricardo James Duarte would have liked, but it makes the score 17 points to 5 now in favour of the Boks. And this one, you would have to say, it's getting closer to being won without being completely confirmed at this stage. France need a try before the halftime break, and that is the halftime siren. They are inside of their 22. If they score now, they can continue in this match. If they concede now, they may be done and dusted. Good power shown by Delamere as he makes his way forward. Little step attempt from Stephen Perez-Martin. Puts it on the outside to Jordan Sefo, who gives a big fend off to Tristan Lades. It was almost like a shot to the throat there from Jordan Sefo. Not sure how much of a fend was involved. It more so looked like just an absolute throat punch. Big fend from Andy Timo. Beautiful stepping from him. Ball on the inside. Zedar running it forward, but it's going to be shut down. France throwing it out the back. Brilliantly done to keep the ball on their side. A little bit high in the tackle there from Ricardo James Duarte, and he gets penalised for not rolling away. France take the quick tap. Pauline Reva, short ball to Zedar, who seems to be missing a little bit of pace round the side. France will score the try just at the end of the half to keep them in this game. It's going to be half-time now in this contest. What a hectic first 7 minutes of this contest. It's going to be shaping up towards game of the competition already, but the fend from Andy Timo and the step as well from the big man, that is thoroughly impressive. When is this game done? It is done in 7 minutes time when the second half comes to a close. And does not matter if it is 15s or 7s, South Africa is unbeaten. They are for this tournament. Last tournament they finished 5th, of course. Nice, bro. That sounded like an awesome try. Says James, yeah, it's just well built up, and South Africa getting themselves offside at the end anyway. Compliments to the commentator. Need to be supported financially. Says, okay, so I mean, last live stream, you said that you won like 5,000 Rand, but you are not the one who is doing the supporting of financially, Casper, by the sounds of it. Nice, bro. That sounded like an awesome try. And also, we have got there the box, says Bruce. And there, so who do you think will win, Fiji or Argentina? I think it's going to be such a close game, but I'm going with Fiji just down to kicking. I think that both sides will score the same amount of tries, but it will all come down to whether or not those 7-pointers are going over or whether they are 5s. And I do think that Fiji have scored a lot of 7s throughout the last couple of weeks. One of the other 7s games still coming up. So we have got Fiji versus Argentina. That is happening just around the corner. And that is going to be the other semi-final match for the men's. New Zealand, they are going to be playing in a contest for 5th. Just around the corner up against, I believe it is Spain. I'm going Fiji, says DJ there. And also Fiji, says Freddie. And there as well, Hamish Puma sponsoring you. Your top, they are not, no. Unfortunately, because I have a lot of Puma gear, so that would be a good one to be able to get, of course. But also in terms of the upcoming matches of the 7 circuit, what we will do is we will go here and we will click here. So it's going to be Australia versus Spain, New Zealand versus Great Britain. And then we've got the 3rd place final that has taken place in around 3 hours' time. And then the matchup for the final taking place in around 4.5. Argentina can't be trusted, let's be honest. Fiji are consistent, says Katzenel. They've at least been consistent this year, the Fijians. And if they didn't have that loss in their first game, I feel like they go into it with a lot more confidence. But they were able to beat New Zealand by a big margin. But the big margin, I do still think if either of these sides were to run away with this game, it would be South Africa from here. They just have that electric pace of Shilton van Wyk. He scored himself 5 tries already in this Cape Town Sevens competition. I don't compliment, so I don't have to back it, says Casper. Fair enough. And I don't think you would anyway. But Selvin Davids ready to kick this one off here. Getting ready to go for the second half. I'm looking around for Shilton van Wyk, who is still on the park, so that means that there is that opportunity of a counter-attack. Now Jordan Sefo slapping it back into the hands of France at the breaking run straight away. That is a huge gap that is left from the Blitzboks. Selvin Davids going to try and catch him, but he will not. And France, that is not the start to the second half that I don't think anyone was anticipating. And just like that, the French have an opportunity to take the lead. It was just off the kickoff. South Africa, they sent an extra man out to that side to go up for the ball, but what that did was leave the vulnerability of the counter-attack for Les Bleus, who went straight through and managed to score the try. We have got the Kiwi lads. That means Stormers will be playing Leinster again in the Investor Cup. I haven't actually seen their games for the Stormers in the near future, but they could find themselves up against Leinster around the corner. France, they miss again. These two sides, someone is going to lose this game due to the fact that they can't get their kicks over. Currently sitting 1 from 3 for both of these sides, but 17-17 with 6 minutes remaining in this very eventful semi-final. Kicked off short by the French. That's a great take from Selvin Davids under the high ball. Counter ruck coming from France, but they lose their footing in the breakdown. Pauline Riva just going down, and a bit of aggression there from Oosthuizen, who's only recently made his way onto the field, but already has decided that he does not like the French and wants to get into the aggressive stuff early on. Game on. Says, no, mum, that is a great kick from Selvin Davids. Gets them right into the 22 with another counter-attacking opportunity for this Blitzboks Sevens side. That is a brilliant take, though, from Selvin Davids. Put down nicely by Zane Davids as well. That is one of the harder things to do when you throw a man up in the air, is to be able to catch him. France's 5-game winning streak ended last weekend against Australia in Dubai. Since then, they have also lost in this leg of the Sevens, but it is thrown in Oosthuizen slapping it back. Selvin Davids chasing after this one. Just taking his time, getting this one set again, trying to go through a gap that did not exist. And now France trying to get that steal in the breakdown. They've been a little bit ill-disciplined in this game, the French. And now Schutten van Wyk puts in the step, passes on the outside to Donovan Don. He is wrestled down by Andy Timo. Bit of a counter ruck, and again, France get themselves penalty. Ryan Oosthuizen. Oh, okay, Tristan Lades does not look good at the moment. He landed on his head. Okay, they're saying there he was in off his feet. I think they will be checking this one. Lades landed awkwardly on his head after that breakdown. Like they've said, it was off the ball stuff that could get him in a little bit of trouble. It was Delamere chucked him over. This might be at least a yellow card here for the French. The whole of the South African bench went up and they want the card. And Tristan Lades is still down, so this might not be good for Liam Delamere. That is the difference. Oosthuizen is very strategic with how he gets aggressive. He will push a man after they have won a penalty because he knows that that is not legal but not completely illegal. Whereas chucking a man after he has won a penalty for his side and dropping him on his head, that's frowned upon in the game of sevens. That's frowned upon in most sports. But they are going to be checking this one now by the sounds of it. The TMO just clearing it. Let's go give the card, says James. And I would say a card here takes France out of this game. They need to do it with 7 on the field. They are making switches now. Strategically, they should be taking Delamere off the field as soon as possible so that they can kind of try and just let it be in the back of the ref's mind. It looks like they are just waiting for the replay here, though. Ricardo James Duarte, he is making his way onto the field, or is he? Interesting. Tristan Lades has to go off for an HIA here, yet they don't have to go TMO and check whether or not that was foul play. It looked like foul play. It looked like Delamere just decided to drop him right on his Swede. How long to go at the moment? There are 4 minutes remaining in this contest, but Tristan Lades, with this concussion, if he does fail the HIA, he will not be playing in the final, no matter who it is up against. Will this ruin the this will ruin the contest? Well, at this stage, they've cleared it. They've said there is no foul play, so 14 on 14. Still remaining for the final 4 minutes. But the ill discipline of France at the moment has been ruining their chances in this game. Ricardo James Duarte, that's way too much movement in the scrum. Stressful, says James. How many minutes are left at the moment? 4 minutes still on the clock between these two sides, and the score is 17 points to 17. How long is a card? 2 minutes? It would be, but he did not get a card in that scenario. Now ready to put this ball in. Ricardo James Duarte early from the French again, and another penalty against this French side. And that is the last thing that you can afford if you are France in this scenario. They're getting to a point here, how 1 or 2 more penalties, they will find themselves going to the bin, and then they can kiss that final goodbye. 5 penalties already against the French, 2 against South Africa, which is still relatively high in a game of sevens, but the French are blowing them off the park here in terms of the amount that they have been penalised throughout the first 10 minutes of this game. Ricardo James Duarte told to put that ball in. Waiting here, does now play it. Goes off to Selvin Davids, looking for the cross kick, waiting for this ball to come down. Beautiful takeout wide from the youngster, but he's driven into touch. Brilliant tackle there from France. Little fist bump coming from the defensive line. That was the young man who was making his debut on the Seven Circuit, Sequoia. He did score himself a try in just the last game. Very spicy game. Says, no, mum, there's a lot of feeling between these two sides. Bit of passion, bit of aggression as well. And just a great bit of work. And they mentioned about how he should have stepped inwards. You feel like that was a little bit of maybe inexperience from the youngster, but the penalty goes against Ryan Oosterhuizen. He is frustrated now with his own side. I don't think there's a player out there on the field that man wouldn't fight if he was given the opportunity. Oosterhuizen, 14 versus 14. Do you really say that Irish is sweet? Yeah, sorry, 7-on-7 for the 14 is probably what I meant. That scenario, 14 out on the field, but Pauline Riva ready to go for the line-out throw here for the French. 2.5 minutes remaining here on the clock. We are getting closer to the full-time siren. At the moment, it does seem like South Africa have the momentum. Even though France have this ball, just seems like they've made less errors. That ball's going to be picked up by Pauline Riva. Looked like almost a tackle off the ball. Riva looking to free this one up. It goes to ground. Ball available for the French, 22 metres out from their own line. A try here would win them this game more than likely, although still plenty of time still on the clock. Inside of their own 22, Riva going across. Who's going to have the speed to be able to cut this game open? The youngster out on the wing making the tackle in the breakdown. Has he won the turnover? I think he had it, but now still going to be on the side of the French. Steven Perez-Martin, bit of sideways shuffling, bit of quick stepping from the experienced French veteran. 90 seconds remaining on the clock. If the score is level with 90 seconds gone, we go to golden point. Ball is still there for France. They need to get out of this part of the field, though, because if South Africa win themselves a penalty, you wouldn't back them to get the 3, but you back them to be able to get something going. Oosterhuizen, ball is loose, trying to kick that one forward with Sawante. It's gone back. Favour of the South Africans. Oosterhuizen out wide. He will score the try. France were always going to concede if they couldn't get out of the danger zone. And Oosterhuizen firing up the crowd for his first try in the Cape Town Sevens competition as well here. But 22 points to 17. It was rough. It was scrappy. But the Boks came out on top for just that moment there. And that could be the decisive moment in this contest. What would help a lot more is if this kick goes over. And they haven't got many today. Selvin Davids, though, with the kick in his hands, you'd almost back him to be able to get it. He misses away to the side, which does mean now these two sides separated by 5 points. A try for France would take us to golden point time. A try and a conversion would take them through to the final. Home field advantage really helps a lot. Says Wayne there, how many minutes remaining? Says Nav. Oh, that one's going to be, oh my, a free kick to France because of South Africa taking too long. They tried to stall the clock, tried to use up every second that they physically could, and now it's gifted France the opportunity to attack from the halfway line. This game is not over yet. Now going to the left-hand side, Uruguay, who has made his way off of the bench. Any sort of error here, and that was one from France, almost going into touch. That one's kicked out by South Africa, and that will end the game. The South Africans are through to the final to now take on either Fiji or the Argentines on the home turf, looking to make it back-to-back. An incredible effort from this side. They had their moments where it looked a little bit shaky. They are still not successful off the kicking for the conversions. And the question is, will that cost them in the final, or will they be able to ride the wave of Cape Town support and take them all the way through to another title? But what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to Fiji versus Argentina. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in the very near future, as well as for that final at 4:43 p.m. South African time. So I will see you all for the next one.